ready to enter the sweet world of beekeeping. Get your protective gear on and prepare to be amazed by the secret life of these buzzing wonders. Josh Campbell with the OSU County Extension is here with all the facts.
Hi, I'm Josh Campbell, horticulture educator with OSU Extension. I also work in the area of urban agriculture and natural resources. One of the hobbies that is growing in popularity is backyard beekeeping. Beekeeping is a fun activity because not only does it give you the potential to harvest a product like honey, but it also has a lot of environmental benefits. Bees, along with a myriad of other pollinators, but primarily bees, are vitally important when it comes to providing the needed pollination for our garden plants, our vegetable plants, and then the crops that we depend on for our food source. And so all the way from a backyard scale beekeeper up to large scale beekeepers, bees provide an important ecosystem function and benefit. And a lot of people are realizing the importance of caring for and cultivating bees in the environment. And so backyard beekeeping is one way that people are doing that. Beekeeping can be done on a small scale and still yield quite a bit of honey for home use, and even some people are getting into honey sales and honey production at, say, farmers market or at local shops. And so whatever your interest in beekeeping, there are a number of benefits and opportunities when it comes to getting started with bees. But there's some things you need to know about. And so when it comes to beekeeping, there is going to be some learning that's involved, and there's going to be some upfront cost to get started. It is not a terribly expensive hobby, but it's also not, I would say, not a cheap hobby as well. You're going to spend a few to several $100s to get started, but a lot of that initial equipment that you purchase is an upfront expense that you won't have ongoing. And so it is something that's going to have some expense. Bees are living creatures, and actually the United States Department of Agriculture considers bees a form of livestock. So you can actually be a bee farmer or bee rancher maybe, and make a living income keeping and raising bees, and there are people that do that. And so when it comes to keeping bees, you're not only having to deal with the understanding of what equipment and what space is needed, but you also have to think about these as living creatures that need things like food and access to places where they forage for pollen and nectar from plants. You need the right housing. They need access to water. And so those are all things that are considerations when it comes to backyard beekeeping. If you want to get started with beekeeping, there are different ways that you can get your bees to begin with. One of probably the most straightforward ways to do it is to purchase a nuke. You can do this from beekeeping suppliers locally. You can even within the beekeeping community, sometimes there are people that are going to be splitting hives and will offer nukes for sale. Typically this is a spring activity. So you would plan for your equipment perhaps in the fall. You start to collect the boxes and the frames and things that you would need. You can reserve or request a nuke with somebody that can provide that for you. And then usually in the spring, say April, those nukes become available and you can start a new hive in your backyard. When it comes to beekeeping tools that every beginner needs, there's a lot out there, but there's a few basic things that you need. And our fact sheet that I referred to is going to cover a lot of that. It's going to go into detail about the cost of the tools and equipment that you need. But a few basic things: you definitely need some sort of protective gear. You can get a full body suit like you see here. You can get just a torso suit that's going to have the hat to protect your head and face and protect your body. Or you can go with the full body suit like you see here. Other important tools in addition to the bodysuit would be gloves. You're going to be sticking your hands in those hives. You're going to be working frames. And so having a good pair of bee gloves is an important tool to have. Other things that I consider to be fairly important would be a hive tool. They make hive tools. I also like to just use a little flat kind of garden tool that I use to pry up the lids and some of the frames out of the box so that I can access them. But a hive tool is very important because it's going to require a little bit of leverage to pry some of those frames out, or perhaps even the lid off of your bee box, because they are sealing that up with wax and propolis and other materials to really insulate their box from outside weather and outside predators. And so when we access that hive to check to make sure that the hive is healthy and that the queen is still there, which is something you'll do from time to time just to ensure that you're monitoring the health of your hive, having that hive tool is going to be important. If you are brand new to beekeeping and wanting to get started, I encourage you to check out some of the local beekeeping clubs that exist around the state. Here in Central Oklahoma, there's groups like the Central Oklahoma Beekeepers Association, and there are a number of other associations across the state that are providing regular education and networking opportunities, peer-to-peer mentoring to help one another and help new beekeepers have success. At OSU Extension, we also have some resources and information in the form of an online website. So we have a beekeeping website that has a number of videos and also some fact sheet resources and information for you that helps you kind of as you're thinking through jumping off and getting started with beekeeping. One of our fact sheets actually breaks down the equipment that you need, everything from the boxes and frames to the actual, maybe the nuke that you get started with, and breaks down the cost involved with getting started with beekeeping.